Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the Conquer with Chris, the podcast you don't want to miss. Today, I have a very special guest. I have Dana on with us today. Dana, welcome to the show.
Thank you. Great to be here.
Glad to have you. Listen, let's get a little background about you. Let's know about a little bit about who you are, where you're from, what you do.
Yeah, sure. Well, um, let's see. I was born in Canada. I was raised in London, England, and then I mainly grew up in California.
Wow.
And I have a little sister. She's 3 years younger than me. And growing up, we had a dog named Winston. And then I went to college and got a degree in public relations. And my parents were moving to Thailand at the time. So Winston moved in with me. And I started working in the pet industry. So I was doing public relations in the pet industry. And then I quit my job and moved to New York City and started my own PR firm. And fast forward to 2021, I am looking to not be a marketer anymore. I shaved my head last year so I can remind myself not to devote my life to marketing products and to really pivot and to help change people and help people change. And that's really where my passion is and my life's work is as a life coach and a death doula.
Oh, what was that second part?
A death doula. So you may be familiar with birth doulas. When someone is having a child, a birth doula kind of helps the mom through the process with breath and comfort and making sure everything's fine. A death doula does something similar. We bring ritual back into death and make sure the person has a good death.
Wow, that's amazing. That's amazing. So, what sparked this transition? This last transition from marketer to life coach?
Well, I was seeking to make a change, and I was thinking that I wanted to maybe become a social worker. So I talked to a few social worker friends, and they all said, no, don't do it. And so I actually hired one of them as my life coach, and I worked with her for about a year. During that time, COVID landed, and I was going to Guatemala for a week for a retreat. And I ended up living there and staying there for 3 months and getting SIP, stuck in paradise. And, just kind of gave some time and space to all the work that I was doing with my life coach of reevaluating what I want to do with my life. I had also just turned, I'm 38 years old. In Mayan culture down in Guatemala, when you turn 37, that's like your last age. And so it's kind of like a year of becoming who you've always been. It's like becoming an elder version of yourself. And so, a lot of different things combined. And there was a full moon, and I had this, epiphany that I wanted to get rid of let go of the past, the present, and the future, and had a special ceremony to shave my head. And I'm really had time and space to create the new website and to launch the new life coaching business.
Wow. So let's talk about what's your end goal for each of, I know it's different for every person, but how do you help people transform, I guess, is the main question.
I really like to work with codependents or people that have been in relationship with narcissists. So anyone that is a perfectionist or maybe has some anxiety or feels like they're invisible or spend a lot of their time people pleasing. Those are the type of people that I like to work with, to help them be a person that says yes all the time, to be a person that says no a lot of the time.
Yeah, I found out that no is sometimes the hardest word to say, but the most important word to learn.
Yes, and it's a complete sentence.
Because we get so busy helping family, helping friends. Sometimes we lose ourselves in the mix. We don't really get to full-fledged out who we really are. So for that person just starting out, maybe they're in their early 20s, maybe they're in their 30s, maybe they're in their 40s or 50s, just starting out, and they just had that epiphany and they want to become a better version of themselves. What would you tell that person today?
So it's all about the tools. It's all about lots and lots of tools. One tool that I use a lot is a tool called How Do I Feel Right Now? And that's a really great thing to do if just check in with yourself. It's really about pausing before reacting. So let's say someone does something and it pisses you off. Before reacting and getting sucked into that dialogue or that fight or that confrontation, if you can take a moment and just pause and say, okay, and just check in with your own body, with your own self, and say, right now I feel tired. Okay, they're great. That's a good thing to know. So then you can tell the person, you know what? I'm feeling really tired right now. Basically, you're telling them no. Like, I don't want to have this conversation with you right now. I'm feeling tired. Let's schedule it. Let's do it tomorrow night at 5 o'clock. How about that? It's just like learning different tools so that you can check in with yourself and have that muscle to say no. But something that I do is there's a lot of different tools that we work with as coaches. But if I'm like going down maybe a spiral road, I have a album that I've saved in my phone called the Happiness Album. And I've taken pictures of all different things that make me happy, like sunsets, beach walks, hot tea, massages, my sister. And I have this nice little album that I can just turn to. And again, it just gives me a pause, gives me a moment to reflect on what's really important in life. And then I can re-engage and say, you know what, this is so not that important. I'm just going to like let this pass. I'm not going to get so caught up in the details and get all enraged for no reason, and give that person my energy. I want to always stay at a full cup. And if I'm giving to someone because I want to, that's a beautiful thing. If I'm giving to them because they're sucking the energy out of me, that's not so great.
So you like to deal with people that have been in pretty much abusive relationships or abusive situations, in the sense where the person is whatever kind of relationship. It could be a business relationship, right, where the person makes it all about,
Absolutely.
or
Yeah.
all about them, where they're the focus.
It's
Instead
it's very common to have narcissistic bosses or workplaces. Absolutely.
That reminds me of this guy I heard. He said, "I'm the humblest person I know," and one of his coworkers said, "You should get out more." So, like, sometimes, and see, this is. I want to bring this to the people who are listening's attention. Sometimes you don't know you have a problem until you know you have a problem, because we're so caught up with day to day living and whatnot. A lot of us don't take time for introspection or self evaluation, and I want to encourage you to do so. Because when you start taking inventory of yourself and you go from one place to the next and people don't like you, or you find out you're always having disagreements with people, the problem just may be you.
Right. You're the common denominator.
And so when you find somebody who's been in what they think is an abusive relationship, and have you had the opportunity yet where you're dealing with someone and the light bulb goes off that they were the one abusing?
Well, yeah, that's a really good point. So, with narcissism, usually, there is something that's the DSM-5. It's like specifically someone that has narcissistic personality disorder. There's also just people that have narcissistic traits or narcissistic characteristics, but it's all really about manipulation. And so for me, I was like really deep diving into the research about narcissism and blame and putting it on the other person. And I really had to take that look in the mirror and say, oh, wait a minute, what's the other side to this coin? What's the other side of the narcissistic coin? Oh, it's codependency. So that's the part that I need to work on. And that's not an easy pill to swallow. And with narcissistic abuse, it's sometimes a little bit more covert or a little bit hard to see because it's emotional and spiritual abuse. It's like mind play. So sometimes, it's gaslighting. It's someone telling you didn't have your experience that you had. So sometimes it's a little bit hard to see than like abuse, physical abuse, right? Where there's like actual bruises and you can see that it happened. With gaslighting, it's a little bit harder to track. And sometimes it can be helpful if it happens in front of a trusted friend and you can see their reaction. And sometimes that can be some clues to someone to say, oh, wait a minute. But, really, you know, I did a lot of research about narcissism, and I finally had to accept that pill and say, okay, I'm the one that's codependent over here. I'm the one that keeps getting into these same situations. So how do I need to change and be less conditional in my relationships and less manipulative in my relationships by trying to people please so I get what I need or get what I want, or think that I'm getting what I want by doing a favor for someone else, and really getting clear on why I do the things that I do and what am I hoping to get out of it.
Wow. Well, there's a lot to unpack there. That's good stuff. I found I'm a pastor, as well as everything else I do. I found that in dealing with people is typically narcissists, people who we call it pride, my background. If you have
Yeah.
a pride issue, you really they have a codependency issue too, because they need that person to be littler than them because it's all about them. Anytime you get somebody who makes it all about them, they're actually trying to minimize the other people. It's the person who says, you know, you look good, but you're not as pretty as me, or you're not good. You look good, but you're not as handsome as me. Or man, you played a really good game of basketball, but you know, I scored 20 more points than you. Stuff like that. It's like you said, it's really slick and subtle, and they always got to make you feel like you're just a little bit less than them, because they've got to. And the sad part is they're onto something in
Right.
a way, because really, in reality, is there's enough success to go around to everybody. And so that backhanded compliment, if they just would have left alone and said, "Hey, you had a really nice game," it doesn't diminish their success. It doesn't diminish who they are as a person. Hey, you look really good tonight. That doesn't mean anything less. So, what do you say to the person who realizes that they're the narcissist?
Well, yeah, it does come from a really insecure place. Often narcissists are unwilling to look at the fact that they are narcissists. Usually, if you call out a narcissist on being a narcissist, you can expect exactly what their behavior is going to be. They're going to deny, and then actually maybe even just put it on you, you know, and tell you that you're the narcissist. And in such a convincing way that hits all of your buttons and all of your triggers that you might even actually believe them. Yeah, it's like this wild game of ping pong, and you come away thinking you were accusing them of something, and now you think you're the narcissist. So
Wow.
oh, you said something though that's really important. All those sentences you said as examples had a but in there, and that's a really good. If you're, because it's really subtle, if you see someone and they're giving you a text with a but, or a compliment with a but, that's a really good indicator that you might be getting gaslit, or you might be dealing with a narcissist. When those buts are just like flying off the handle, check those, because a nice person with a good intention, yeah, can just say that was a great game, and period, no buts.
Yeah, I like how you said butts flying off the handle. I'm sorry, that's sophomoric, but it is funny to me. But I actually taught people you got to stay on one side of the butt, right? Stay on in English language.
Positive.
Left side of the butt. Stay on the left side, because
Totally.
but you just disqualified everything you said.
Yeah.
Oh, you look nice tonight. I love the cologne you're wearing, or the perfume you're wearing. I really appreciate you going out with me, but blah, whatever it is you're going to say next, just forget about it. You just destroyed everything you said, because they're not going to remember what you said after that. But so, how do you teach someone? Because I had to deal with codependence. How do you teach someone to not be as codependent?
Yeah, it's I think one big thing is like doing this a lot of times codependents are really likely to say yes, like, hey, you want to go to the movies? Like, yeah, great. Like yeah, let's hang out. Yes, great. Yes. It's like really going back to that check-in of, how do I feel right now? Oh, I'm tired. Let me tell you no, because I don't want to go to the movies. Just because I'm friends with you doesn't mean I have to go to the movies with you tonight. We can go next Friday. We can still be friends, right? It's like this overarching need of like saying yes or endlessly giving. So there's a lot of different things to kind of clue you in, but I think that's an important one, is learning to say no, being self-aware, really just giving yourself love, taking care of yourself and giving yourself love, and making sure that you have a full cup so that you can go out in the world. And if you want to be in service and know that you're doing it from a really overflowing place of joy and love, and that you're able to give that thing. Don't give from a place of service when it's really manipulative, that you're wanting people to see how good a person you are, that you want to go and take that Instagram video and say, look at me, I'm doing the soup kitchen, look how awesome I am. If you're doing it for seeking validation and seeking people saying, oh, that Dana, she's real nice, that, just being aware of like, where is it coming from in your system? And if that's your motivating factor, great, do the service however it needs to happen, but just be aware in your own psyche of like why you're making the decisions that you're making. And I think it'll help kind of do some of the fine tuning of discernment of, where you're at.
I think one of the biggest challenges is I know I grew up in a group of people, and I would say there's people out here like this. There's people who just wired to serve, wired to help, wired to assist, right? People in the service industry, people in the food service industry, hospitality, those people are usually pre-wired to serve. So how do you determine the difference between your pre-wired ability or cognitive state of I just want to serve because that's just what I do innately versus I'm being manipulated or I'm empty right now. I really can't help because I don't have that full cup like you said. So how do you determine that state?
It's really about, shedding some of the coping skills like sugar and substances and things like that trick our bodies, and being able to listen to our bodies for what we really need. It's like there's a Zen Buddhist philosophy. It's like when you're hungry, eat, when you're thirsty, drink, and when you're tired, sleep. And it's really as simple as that. It's like if you're feeling hungry, tired, or sleepy, go ahead and take care of yourself in that way. That's the best thing that you can do for yourself at that moment versus 18,000 million other options of how you could be, not taking care of yourself because you want to show off, as a certain way, you want to be reciprocal, whatever the case may be.
That was a big one for me is I had these friends, right? Every time they had something, they said, come on, we're having this get together, this function, come out, support us. But then every time I had a function, there was always some excuse. They couldn't make it. After a while, I realized, listen, if you're one of these people who just, and even if it's not intentional and you just can't make it to the other person's function, stop asking them to come just as being a good friend. Because sometimes people don't mean and it just happens. But if it happens frequently and you invite them to your stuff, but you can never go to their stuff, change your perception and put yourself in their shoes because you can crush someone like that.
Yeah, it's like the kind of back to your example before. It's like, I'd love to come, but I'm not going to. Look for those, notice those buts, and notice where you're spending your energy, because your energy is your most valuable thing.
I'm telling you, like I said, I'm a pastor. One of the greatest places people take your energy is in ministry. And and it's sad, but I mean, the people who come, they're supposed to take your energy. But I'm talking about this may be breaking some kind of rule, and I'm sorry if I am. But when you talk about other ministers, well, come do this for me, and I'll. But if you're not reciprocating, if you're not meeting me 50% in the relationship, I've had to cut people off, and people I love, because at the end of the day is if you're always taking from me and you're not giving anything back, and you think that your words or your pseudo concern is enough, it's not.
Yeah. There's takers and there's givers, and there's some takers who like to pretend that they're givers, and those are the more dangerous ones, and you have to be aware.
And the real scary thing is, you just said something. The people who think they're givers but they're takers, is let me say this is they don't know that they're takers, because this is they're not willing to. Some of the takers aren't willing to receive. They're not willing. You first have to receive. You can't have anything to give unless you're willing to receive. And if you can't receive from people, even though they're giving to you, that's a important part that you're a taker.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you keep using the full cup, right? That you
Yeah.
use so wonderfully. Is if you're always not receiving, then what are you pouring from?
Yeah, you can't.
And you have a mindset, I just don't want to be a taker. I just don't want to be a taker. I don't want to be a taker. Well, your mind doesn't hear the not, or I just don't want to be. It hears, I want to be a taker. If you say I want to be a giver, that's a whole different thing. I think a quote I'm going to share with you right now is Mother Teresa. They said, will you protest this war? And she says, I won't protest the war, but if you have a peace rally, I'll come. Because you protest the war, you're giving energy to the war.
Yeah.
But if you have a peace rally, then you give energy to peace. So I want to tell people, and maybe you can jump on this too, is if you focus on being a giver and not a taker, focus on being humble and not arrogant, or what's the word you used earlier? Drawing a blank here. It's all about them.
Selfish.
Selfish is a good word, but that's not the word you use. Think about the people who look in the mirror 100 times in a second. And anyway.
Narcissist.
Yeah. So be humble. Practice being humble. Humble yourself. When you feel like you have to defend yourself, don't. Why are you defending yourself? Let's ask that question. Why do you feel you need to defend yourself?
Right. Yeah. Don't take it personally. Right. As soon as I've been known to be on the defense, and as soon as I start to feel like I'm taking something personally, I know it's a button, it's a trigger in me that I haven't processed, and there's no need to like keep that energy ping-ponging back and forth. I need to just let it stay with me and let that end. And I think, the part about receiving is also like we can fill our own cups, like by receiving from ourselves also, right? It can be from just taking time. It can be from drinking a cup of hot tea and just relaxing. It doesn't necessarily have to be something it could be a meal that someone prepares for us that we are able to really receive and enjoy. And that's beautiful, but it could be our own self-service where we prepare our own meal to enjoy, or our own hot bath to enjoy. It's just like, where are you putting that energy? Are you putting it back into yourself ever, or is it always just going outputting?
Right. So that is phenomenal. Using what you said is in defending yourself. I think I like to use this analogy, and I got this from one of my mentors. He's like a father figure to me. He said this: there's two creatures, if you step on them, their reactions are totally different. Step on a worm, it gets crushed. Step on a snake, it tries to bite back. And when someone's stepping on you, do you bite back or do you get crushed? And being crushed isn't fun, but it's part of the humiliation or humility process. And if you're a snake, no one wants a snake. No one wants a snake. Well, I mean, some people, I guess, do as pets, but really, no one wants to deal with a snake. When you have the qualities of a snake, cold-hearted, sneaky, no one wants to deal with you. No one wants to deal with you. And in some cases, venomous. So, Dana, how can people find you if they want to reach out to you?
You can find me at danahumphrey.com. It's DANAHUMPHREY.com, or lifecoachanddeathdoula.com. Great.
And I want to hear your favorite quote, or one of your favorite quotes.
Yeah, my favorite quotes actually comes from the Bible. It's don't copy the world, be a different person with a fresh newness in all you do and think.
Wow. What scripture is that? Do you know?
I knew you were going to ask me that. You know what? I found it in high school, and it's been my favorite quote ever since. And I don't actually know where it's from. I feel like it might be from Genesis.
Okay. All right. We'll do some research, and we'll try to Google that. So people can get you at danahumphrey.com, right?
Yep. And if you're on the Twitters and the Instagrams, I'm at Dana K. Humphrey.
So listen, everyone, my guest has been Dana Humphrey. I greatly appreciate having her on. Thank you for being on today.
Yeah, absolutely. Thank you.
Please like, share, subscribe, or download, depending on what device or platform you're on. Thank you so much. Have a great day. And remember, you conquer by hearing other people's stories.
Mm.